Hello friends, this is Kimmy Yanks and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, as I promised, immediately after the Friday experience, this is going to be the Saturday or the qualifying day experience of the 2022 F1 Hungarian Grand Prix weekend as a guest of the Scuderia Ferrari F1 Team in the Paddock Club. So without further much to say, let's go right in, and I hope you guys enjoy what you get to see from the Saturday experience.
Good morning, guys. Rather, I must say good afternoon, because it's almost 12:35 here, and this is Saturday afternoon on the 30th of July in the Ferrari Formula 1 Club, and we have free practice 3, the final practice session of the weekend, in about 15 minutes time, and as you guys can see, it's absolutely belting down. It obviously isn't one of my most glorious Saturdays, because I had a really late start to the day and then got stuck in some really bad traffic as I made my way into the circuit, which resulted in me missing out on meeting Carlos in the Ferrari F1 Club suite, which is a big shame, because I was really looking forward to that. Anyways, it is what it is, and not much can be done there. But as you guys can see, it's belting down. It's belting down quite a lot today here in Hungaroring. The chance of rain was 80%. Well, the weather channels didn't get their predictions wrong, because it is really belting down. Anyways, with the rains wreaking havoc and the chances of not having action on track, let's just walk you through how busy the Paddock Club is today morning, or rather today afternoon. So with the rain belting down, I just thought I'll show you guys from the comfort of my Paddock Club building how the paddock looks. Well, you can see the trucks that are housed in this really tight and narrow paddock area. This isn't as expansive as Spa, and whenever I get the opportunity to show you guys how it looks in Spa, I will. But and that actually is a 2-level paddock. But here you can actually see the upper end of the paddock, if I can put it that way. You got the Mercedes guys there, followed by Red Bull, and then here you got Ferrari with McLaren further down. You can also see the AlphaTauri motorhome, which actually is sharing the same space that Red Bull has for its paddock guests. So in the paddock, of course, you have the drivers who are staying for the entirety of their day, having their meals, resting, preparing themselves for the sessions that are upcoming, so on and so forth. You can actually see Mr. Adrian Newey was sitting there, the aerodynamicist, the best in the business, and yeah, I mean, this is just a very, very good paddock, because it's quite close to the Paddock Club building itself. So you're in close proximity to everybody from the paddock, and if you do see the drivers coming in and out, it's a good way to get a quick selfie with them too, standing here. Anyways, so these buildings, so these trucks that you see are actually housing the engineers who will be analyzing the data that is being relayed from the track, from the car, by the drivers, and some of the engineers also analyze the fuel samples and the engine oil samples that make their way back into these small little centers. Further up on the buildings that you see on the far side, the Ferrari building there, and the Scuderia AlphaTauri, or the Red Bull building, or the Red Bull motorhome, as they lovingly call it. They house the guests of the team as well as the guests of the drivers. Also, that is the dining area for the mechanics during the lunch hours and the evening hours when they're going to have their dinners. So this is how the paddock normally looks. Unfortunately, the view is quite restricted because of windows and food stations being set up. So I try to find myself a spot where I can talk to you guys and show you guys how the paddock looks from the pit lane, from the Paddock Club building. So welcome to the second pit lane walk of Saturday. This is the second and the final pit lane walk. As you guys can see, almost everything is under wraps now, because we just finished with the F2 sprint race, and normally the second pit lane walk used to be just before qualifying on the Saturday, but so this is a pleasant surprise to see that Formula 1 has shifted those times to late in the evening. It's almost 7:10 now, and thankfully though there is not much rush, since this is quite late in the evening, and majority of the Paddock Club and the Paddock guests are on their way home now. The Paddock Club is right above the pit, the garages, the team garages, and you can see almost every car is now under wraps. Now getting ready for the final showdown, that is tomorrow, the day that matters the most, and it's going to be an interesting battle, because we've had George Russell take pole position, which was quite a big surprise, along with the Ferraris of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc taking P2 and P3. So as for the Red Bulls, well, Max suffered an engine issue in Q3, so we don't really know what the status of that engine is, whether it's going to survive the night and make it into the race, which I think is highly unlikely, because Red Bull would not want to take those kind of risks. And if he does take a new engine on, and if it's outside the allocation of the 3 units that they've allocated him for the season, then of course we are looking at a grid penalty, which could send him right to the back of the grid. But yes, as you guys can see, every car is now under wraps. That's the Aston Martin garage, and we've got the Alpha Tauri as well. Although there are hardly any guests around in the Paddock Club, from the Paddock Club or even the paddock for this pit lane walk, we still see the faithful staff of almost every team manning stations and ensuring everything stays secure and protected from any untoward incident. I actually love the color scheme of Alpine. Very interesting blue and pink mixed up right there. So yeah, as we continue to walk through, you've got McLaren with their cars coming up just about now. We've got Lando first, followed by Daniel on the other side, and I think his car has still not come back from the FIA, from what I can surmise. And we're going into Ferrari now. Okay, so here we are in Ferrari, and as you guys can see, the garage now bears a forlorn look, as the shutters will come down eventually, and we have Carlos Sainz's car right there under wraps. So quite an interesting car cover to have, with a good amount of netting, so you still have the breeze coming in. You can see the curves, the ERS light glowing green, which means that the car is not live. It is safe to touch if any of the marshals ever needed to, should the car be stricken on the track. So that's an indicator of the car being safe. to touch and move around. That's Carlos Sainz right there. And on this side we've got Mr. Charles Leclerc and his Scuderia Ferrari waiting in the wings for its rider tomorrow morning. The sun's out, which is a welcome change, and the sky is now nice and blue. But yes, we've got an amazing view of Charles Leclerc and his Ferrari. So as you guys can see, this is all a brilliant setup that the mechanics do over the course of the weekend. In fact, they come in on the Wednesday or even sooner sometimes, set it all up, and then once the race is done on the Sunday, everything is dismantled. Absolutely nothing is left behind. In fact, you can see Mr. Mattia Binotto talking to Sky Italia about their chances for Sunday. Before I run out of time, very quickly, not the best day for Red Bull and its fans, with Sergio just struggling to find a balance for his Red Bull and eventually qualifying P11. Unsure if there's going to be a grid penalty for him or not, but for this guy, the reigning world champion, Mr. Max Verstappen, I think we might be looking at a potential grid penalty tomorrow. Finally, Mercedes with their pole man, Mr. George Russell, and of course Lewis have downed their shutters and they've gone home, I guess. Of course, well, they've not gone home, it's just that they must be in an intense debrief, post-quali debrief, and drawing up race plans on thwarting the challenge by the Ferraris for Sunday. But I think it's going to be an interesting battle nevertheless. And right at the end, we've got the podium ceremony. That's Parc Fermé and podium ceremony facility. So that's the podium, actually, not the podium ceremony, but the podium. I was just trying to pay attention to what the security guys were doing there, but you never really want to get into their bad books, or you could get banned from the Paddock Club and its vicinity. So yeah, that's Parc Fermé. That's where the post-session interviews happen. That's the podium there, right up there, and yeah, that's the start of the pit lane, actually, the other end of the pit lane. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this pit walkthrough, the second pit lane walk of the day and the final one on the Saturday. And now it's time to head out, head home, or probably loiter around the confines or the outsides of the paddock, hoping to bump into some driver.
So guys, that was the Saturday experience from the 2022 F1 Hungarian Grand Prix. I hope you guys also enjoyed the number of selfies I took with people from the F1 fraternity or from other walks of motorsport life. Well, for me it was a very, very special day because I got to meet Mr. McDowan, who has been my racing hero since the late 90s, when I actually started watching motorsports on TV. Well, of course, back then in India it wasn't as televised, but whenever I did get the chance on a Sunday, I used to watch Mickey Doohan on that Repsol Honda bike, absolutely hammering the opposition, winning races by such margins that it kind of felt unreal. But it was him who actually made me fall in love with MotoGP, and then slowly I went on to Formula 1 and then became a big fan of Mika Häkkinen, followed by the Flying Finn, the Iceman, Kimi Raikkonen. So it was worth the wait. It was quite a long wait, and when I actually headed out from the entrance of the F2 paddock, I hadn't met Mickey Doohan yet, but then I so happened to see him walk out of the paddock from the bridge that was running across into the paddock parking, and I said, this is my chance. So I just legged it from there. It was quite a sprint because he had parked his BMW way up, and it was right in the corner. But then when I actually reached where he was, it was all in pitch darkness, and he was just about to get into the car, and I shouted out and he obliged. It was a quick 5-minute conversation, and Jack Doohan, his son, who was actually the F2 sprint race winner on the Saturday, was kind enough to take a photo of us together. So it was definitely a very interesting experience, if I can put it that way. Also, the other thing is, post-COVID, Formula 1 has actually changed the schedule of how the events pan out on an F1 weekend. So if you guys have been seeing, races have gone backwards, races have been advanced by an hour and a half or so, and the same kind of has translated into the schedule of the F1 Paddock Club. The second pit lane walk normally used to happen before the qualifying, but now they actually do it after the qualifying, and in fact it's quite late into the evening when the Paddock Club actually shuts. So like you saw in the video, in the walkthrough that I did, there were hardly any guests, because most of them would have headed back to their hotels. And but yes, in a way it's good, because you get to actually see what turn down in F1 terms means, because almost all cars were under wraps. But if in case there was an accident, and if the mechanics had to walk away and break the curfew, because that's what they need to do if in case they have to make their car ready, then there would be quite a lot of activity that you would see in that garage. But yes, it was quite an interesting experience. So I hope you guys have enjoyed what I've tried to show you guys from the Saturday. As always, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I try to do as many things as I can in keeping my channel engaging. And if you guys have not connected with me on other social media channels, then I will be leaving my links in the video description below. Also, if you want to check out videos from the Hungarian Grand Prix, you can always head out to my F1 playlist and see the Grand Prix weekend videos that are there. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care guys, stay safe, and enjoy the upcoming F1 weekend.